Hey everybody, John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing. First off, if you like my content, my briefings and my content, send it on to your friends and colleagues. They can sign up at bluewateroutlook.com. Now, I wanted to mention that I'm thinking that we're getting into the dog days of summer. From a climatological standpoint, August, especially late August and September, is sort of a transition. We're not into any of the atmospheric energetics you'd see in fall, especially mid to late fall, and we're getting out of the severe weather season. So we're sort of focused on the tropics, but other than that, it can be a quiet time, and I do have some concerns for some very dry weather ahead I'll be addressing in this briefing. So let's get started. First of all, it looks like the primary weather threat this week will be unusually hot weather over the south central U.S., parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and that could extend into week 2 as well. Now, like I said, things are starting to quiet down a bit. We did have some severe storms last week, yellow being high winds and some hail and purple and some heavy rain in spots. But this is nothing like compared to maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when we had this whole map sort of covered with severe storm reports. So I think it is quieting down, and I think next week there won't be too much at all. But we did have some streaks of very heavy rain, and that's putting some bumps in the rivers as those tributaries are pushing that water into parts of the Missouri and Middle Mississippi. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. And other than that, it's pretty quiet across the nation as far as rain. So Texas, not only are they making it above 100 degrees and 105, 106 in spots, they're also having quite a bit of humidity, and they are having very dry conditions as well. So last week we had the departure from normal, green being below, red being above, and man, this is 8 to 10 degrees above normal. And right where that boundary was, that served as the focus for our precipitation. Now, the hottest temperatures of the week last week, we had temperatures above 100 degrees in this shade right in here, but we only had 70s in here. So again, a very tight gradient between the cooler, really if you're in Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, parts of the eastern Corn Belt, good part of the Midwest, you had a break from summer's heat, but certainly not down in the south central U.S. And not only the heat, but the dew points were in the mid to upper 70s, so a combination of that heat and humidity was resulting in excessive heat over the south central U.S. So as far as rivers go, things have quieted down a bit. Now, there is some action still along the East Coast, and that's a combination of some tropical activity plus a cold front pushing through the area. We have low flows as well, and these areas shaded in here are heading towards low flows. Now, I want to give you an example on the upper Mississippi, the Mississippi River system. These are these little bumps I was talking about as far as when tributaries got that heavy rain, say in Missouri, for example, just a little bump, 2 or 3 feet, then that works downstream, but that quickly attenuates as it goes further downstream. I wanted to also point out how we're getting towards low flow, that's brown. This is Evansville on the Ohio, and look at all these rivers on the lower Mississippi, how they're falling. So from a standpoint of where we were looking at widespread floods not that long ago, now we're looking at really fast dropping rivers. Okay, so areas under that area of low pressure, the dip in the jet stream, are experiencing cooler weather. Areas under that high, that heat dome, are experiencing unusually hot weather. And by the end of the week, look at that dip in the jet stream in the west. That means much cooler weather over the western U.S., but still a lot of heat. No change over Oklahoma and Texas. And matter of fact, it looks like it's going to be warming up over many parts of the central U.S. And you can see that in our temperatures here. Look at the transition as we start the week to where we end the week. So the week's going to start with some really nice weather in this area in blue, but it's going to end up with temperatures pretty hot considering it's late August still, and that's a little bit above normal. This is a hint of another cold front coming through, so we'll see. Could bring some cooler air again to the upper Midwest towards the beginning of September. What about the tropics? Well, we have Ernesto that impacted Puerto Rico, parts of the Virgin Islands, and Bermuda. You can see its track. And this is the wave action. All along the East Coast, we're getting enhanced wave action and the risk of rip tides, rip currents due to Ernesto's waves. Look at the rain at Puerto Rico. This is over a foot of rain in spots, so very heavy rain, and that resulted in flooding, flash flooding. So we look at the upcoming week. This is the next week. It looks really quiet. Maybe some rainfall in the Florida Peninsula, but other than that, most of the nation looks really quiet. This is some monsoon rain coming into the desert Southwest, but like I said, I think we're getting into a dog days of the summer, a very quiet pattern. And if we look at all the brown here, that's below normal, the West Coast, with that upper system that's maybe some pretty widespread shower activity. Other than that, just warm and dry over many parts of the nation. And I sort of looked at this 30-day. I like to look at this. This is the real big picture to see if I have any strong anomalies one way or the other. And this red is hardly any rain over the next 30 days. So that's why I have a concern for rivers. Soil moisture is going to be drying out. I think we're going to have drought expansion, and I'll be putting out a drought update in a week or so. But you can see here, anything in red or brown, especially dark brown and red, that's well below normal rainfall over the next month. And very few areas have above normal rainfall. In case you didn't see it, this came out last week. This is the September outlook, and it shows you again pretty big areas of above normal temperature and below normal rainfall. That's this week's weather briefing. Looks like overall a pretty quiet week. Biggest weather risk looks to me to be high heat and humidity over the south central U.S. Have a great week.